and there's one comment, and it is solid death threats.
Now I gotta ride or die.
Now, the story of this car is a bit of an odd one. I feel a lot of people out there may have grown up in the Max Power era. I was on the edge of it, so I watched everything sort of explode and watch it all come down as well. The end of body kits, the end of sort of flip paint, big wheels, Lambo doors on pretty much anything. I had a scooter at the time when this was sort of on its way down, then into a 125, then into a 400, and then into my first car. And over those sort of, 3-4 year span, I actually watched what was pretty much the demise of the Max Power car scene in the UK, but always had a love for it. My first car, nearly put a body kit on it, but Euro scene was a big thing, so we thought we'd go that way with it at the time. Now, years pass, I do a few Max Power related builds from years gone by, try and just, reassess the market for that sort of content. And one of the videos, the highest rating video still on my channel right now, is of a Civic from that generation. It's got hydros on it, Lambo doors. Really cool to see it in that element of basically being left for dead. It was odd. It was odd seeing it, so I had to grab the camera, I had to show everyone what the deal was. And thankfully, the video did really well. That then led me on to not unfortunately buy that car, but buy something else. And as this is all happening, I sort of said to one of my good fellow friends, Richard Fox, your Fiesta with the body kit on it is still around the back of your house, isn't it? He's like, yep. It's like, can we do a video just explaining that it's here and how cool it is? Because I've just done one and it's gone mad, so I'd really appreciate the content more than anything. He's like, yeah, cool, come around, we'll have a laugh about it, we'll show everyone. That video then, intent, did really well as well. Backwards and forwards, we started thinking, we started chatting. He's like, basically, I sort of want to get rid of this car, I'm not really up for doing anything with it. And me, MJG, and Rich sort of concocted a plan that I would, take ownership of the car, let's say, and we'd try and do something with it. Whether that was restoring it, whether that was parting it out, whether it was doing anything, the content would be there because it was quite hot at the time. There was a lot of people wanting to see that style of content, I feel. I thought, why not? How bad can it be? Turns out, after a lot of work, it was just too far gone. And unfortunately, in the automotive space, if you do give up, you are the biggest failure in the world. And to me, still now, it was the right thing to do, but still, I feel like at the time, I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't have enough money to finish the car. It wasn't going to be done right. It was taking years to get done. I didn't have the means and the space and the time and the funds and the understanding of cars whatsoever to actually get that car done. Martin MJG did so much work on that thing to get it to the point that it was, that I felt so bad for him being have to just sit there night after night. I'm trying to help fund little bits and do stuff and try and make sure the channel's on point with it. But it's just one of those things you have to sort of hold your hands up and say, at the point of it really just looking like there's nothing you could do financially any more than you were to try and recoup the money that was going out for the project, you just hold your hands up and say, do you know what, we can't do this. It's a big hole. And as any other business would probably do, they'd just hold their hands up and say, do you know what, we need to bin this off. And that's what I did. Revisiting it is quite hard because there was a lot of controversy at the time of me giving up on the project. But I feel like it was for the right reasons. It was for, financial reasons. The videos didn't do as well. The boredom sort of set in from the channel. And although the amount of work was being done, you couldn't necessarily show multiple welds, multiple this, multiple that. Although the work was being done, and professionally by Martin, it just got to the point where it just wasn't worth it anymore. And we were still, years and thousands of pounds of it being the car that it should be. A show car. It was a show car at the end of the day, and it wanted to be that show car again. I just didn't have the funds, the knowledge or anything to actually do anything about it. And this is the point where if you were a normal person, if you did normal things, it would have just gone quiet. No one would have really asked about it, or if they did, you say, do you know what, financially I can't do it, so I'm not going to bother. Because that car especially, and then the channel was in the limelight at the time, it took a lot for me to say, you know what, guys, this isn't working, and then actually follow that through as well. Because I feel like if we kept going, we'd still be on it now, and it would just be the biggest hole of money you've ever seen. And we probably wouldn't have got to the point we wanted to get it to, which is a shame. But sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, do you know what, we're done here. And that's what we did. I pulled it out of Martin's workshop and I said, do you know what, and I sat down and I said, I'm going to put the panels on something else, but I'm really not sure how we're going to actually do this, because it's all bonded on. It's, you know, it's not a straight unbolt the bumpers, put them onto another car. And that was the biggest hurdle I found initially, was that you could probably buy a rust-free car, because that car was so rusty. It had been sat for 6-7 years in a garden. It felt like I was sort of against it from the start. And I then said, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to scrap the thing. Don't worry about it, everyone. We'll build something else, it'll be cool, but I feel like this is the right thing to do. And you know what, 90% of people were on my side, and that's such a nice thing about sometimes the internet especially, is that I feel like that 90% is what I held on to for as much as I could until the other 10% started coming out. And that's the internet, and I understand all of it. I've been in every single aspect of the internet and a channel and the growth and, you know, doing things wrong, doing things right. It's just how it is. And I remember it was a Thursday morning, and I think I'd put the video up at sort of a Sunday, basically saying, I'm sorry everybody, I can't do this. It's just not happening. And thankfully, going through the comments, just understanding that people's frustration was there, my frustration was there, but people saw it, understanding the finance of trying to get a car to that level, just going through. And the Thursday morning, I didn't really go through the comments before that, but I thought I'd go on that Thursday, just see what was going on. And the 10% started getting to you, don't they? It starts to unravel that people are just calling you every name under the sun. The internet is going in on you for this mistake that you're making. And I just put my hand up and said, I know, mate, it's so bad, like, I understand, like, and there's a lot I can take, in a sense, and I think there's a lot of people out there, especially on the internet, can take to that point. And I'm scrolling, I'm just like, yeah, you know, I'm getting back to a couple. And there's one comment, and it is solid death threats over a car build on the internet. And I stopped and I had to reassess what I was even looking at. And I just thought, I can't even believe I'm reading this on my own channel, let alone on the internet, or a car build that I've not given up on, but we did a long run in it, and we saw how far we could go, and that was how far we could go. I just sort of stopped, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe the comment that I was seeing. And I'm pretty hard to it. I've been doing this years. And I just stopped and thought, oh my God, I've done something so wrong here. Someone genuinely wants to do something really bad to me over this car. That is mad. And it was sort of that point I sort of started deleting the comments and stuff, because I never want to see him again. And I'm just thinking, what have I done? How has this happened? And I think at that point I really made a decision in my head, one, to not look at YouTube channel comments ever again, but never really get myself into a situation where I was giving people everything up to date as you know, it was happening, and then financially worrying about it later. And that was the biggest issue for me on the whole build, was that I didn't have the money to start with, and I didn't have the knowledge to do it, so taking it on was hard. But that was the final nail in the coffin, and as I'm sort of, you know, trying to understand how that video is going down, where to go from there as well, do you really pick everything up and try and put it on another car? I just said, I'm out. If that's the reaction I'm going to get from some people, and don't get me wrong, you shouldn't listen to the 1%, because that was one comment, but it just absolutely knocked me. And I remember just sitting there for like half an hour thinking, how do you deal with that? A random person has threatened to take your life over a YouTube car build that can't happen anymore. It's just the maddest thing I've ever been a part of. And yeah, what I'd probably say to everyone out there is, if you are going to build a car on the internet, make sure you've got the money for it, make sure you've got the funds ready to go, make sure you've got a workshop it can sit in and you can understand that stuff takes time, and have the knowledge, 100% have the knowledge. And sometimes, although 90% of people think that it's the right thing to do, and you understand, and you've watched the build, and you've watched this, and there's other things happening, unfortunately, there's always going to be those few people that knock you for 6, and then one that knocks you so far back, you're not really sure where to go from that. But yeah, that is the story of how I had death threats over a YouTube car build.